Welcome to another episode of the Laser Bros podcast. We're your hosts, Logan and Luke Lazarchik. Today, Monday, June 10th, 2024. If you guys can't tell, we are in a different location, and that the reason why we missed last week's recording is because we were moving in the process of moving from, for my case, from my apartment to our new house, and Luke from our parents' house to our house. So we are in our new house for today's recording. Luke's right across the hall from me, so if we start yelling, you'll probably hear each other through each other's microphones. But today we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals, the first two games in particular, previewing Game 3, and talking about players in the series so far and where they rank compared to each other. Luke, I know last time we were watching a game together, it was a pretty weird game. For the first half, it really didn't feel like the Celtics should have been up at halftime, just the way they were playing. But especially because Luka, I think I want to say he had 22 or 24 points at halftime. I forgot what exactly.
That's 23. I thought.
Okay,
maybe
it was somewhere around there. But last night was a weird game. In Game 1, of course, the Celtics pretty much led from start to finish, especially with Porzingis, scoring 20 points in 21 minutes. But what was your main takeaway from last night's game in the series so far?
Well, besides the fact now to watch games with you, I just have to go to our living room instead of driving. That's nice, but now I have to deal with all your shenanigans all the time. But for the game itself, I mean, the Celtics are just better. They're just better. I mean, Dallas, the role players have played well up to this point in the playoffs, but they're not hitting stride. Kyrie's not hitting his stride. The Celtics are just, their best two play. Brown's been pretty good. Tatum done everything besides scoring. He's also turned over the ball, so he hasn't exactly been great. I mean, Porzingis was out at the end because he tweaked something, his ankle or his knee, and he dominated. They're just better. I mean, they have the best starting five I think we've seen since the Warriors, and I mean, they're just better. I mean, Luka can do all he wants. He hasn't been able to put together like a full game. Like he had a great first half and then he slowed down in the second. But if Kyrie's not hitting 45% of his shots, Mavericks, and they were close, but Mavericks are probably not winning a game if he's going to be shooting under 45%.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part of this series so far is the Celtics defense and the fact that they don't really have to double Luka or Kyrie. They could play one-on-one defense, which is something we kind of talked about before the series started, was the fact that Celtics have 4 to 5 defenders that you can basically switch. You can basically switch everybody onto Luka and Kyrie in the pick and roll game. And the Celtics, they're actually playing it smart by having Jason Tatum guard the center so that if Gafford or Lively is saying a screen, Tatum is in the switch on defender. And there's a lot of other matchups that they're doing that too as well. So I think this series, the biggest reason why the Celtics have a 2-0 lead is because of their defense. Because when you look offensively, Tatum, who's their most skilled player, probably their best player as well, hasn't really got going shooting the ball at all. He's done other things, passing, rebounding, creating opportunities for his other teammates, but it really hasn't been. And to be honest, he's been like the biggest, like the weakest offensive player in the series for the Celtics so far, scoring wise. He's done other stuff like I just said, but it's just a well-oiled machine. It's very well balanced. Everybody's scoring. I just wrote down the stats for the first two games, just the averages. And so Jaylen Brown's averaging 21.5. Jason Tatum's averaging 17. Holiday's averaging 19. Derek White's averaging 16.5. Porzingis is averaging 16. I mean, it's just everybody's getting a piece of the pie, and they're all contributing. So, and then on the Mavs side, I mean, Luka's averaging 31 points a game, but Kyrie's shooting 13 of 37 so far in the series, and is only averaging 14 points. So, I think right now Celtics match up very well with the Mavs, and the Mavs really don't have a lot of answers. And the Mavs, because Celtics defense, their offense has become mostly stagnant, and that's why you're seeing also a low assist number for the Mavericks overall.
I mean, you can argue that even Al Horford, I mean, when he gets on Luka, he plays pretty good defense on Luka for situation 38-year-old center. I mean, And then Porzingis protecting the rim, that's something that is huge. That's huge. It's I I just don't see unless like a even if Kyrie gets going, Dallas needs like PJ to average 20 the rest, but it can't just be like he had 17 yesterday, but it wasn't that impressive of a 17. He needs to be like he hits three threes in a quarter and really changes the flow of the game. Or I mean, because they took like Jaden Harden basically completely out of the rotation yesterday. He played like 2 minutes. You're throwing Josh Green out there. He's not going to do much shooting. Exum's not going to do much shooting. Maxi Kleba, his shoulders off. He's not doing much shooting. Gafford Lively aren't shooters. Tim Hardaway's not in the lineup. I think you got to throw Tim Hardaway back in there and just hope he finds how he played the first half of the season, because the Celtics couldn't hit threes, but the Mavs, Luka's the only one hitting threes. And I mean, he can drop 30 all he wants. And I think he's trying to find people to get open, but he'll take the tough shots and he makes some, and he's amazing. But he's hurt too. And so it's not when the Celtics have 5 all-star caliber players, your sixth man is just a fantastic vet, very experienced. You got Peyton Pritchard and Hauser come in and add a little different feel and make a play here or there. They're the best team from the beginning of the year. They're like 78-20 on the season. I don't think this is. I was unsure on this series, but I'm still not surprised with what I'm seeing. I mean, I don't even know who the best player in the Celtics has been. I saw I think the favorite betting is Tatum. NBA.com had Holiday on their number 1 spot for final MVP ladder, with Luka 2, and then Jaylen Brown 3. I think Porzingis was 4 and Tatum was 5. So who knows? Who knows? It's just the Mavs don't have enough, probably.
Yeah, I think MVP was just solely based on best player in the series, regardless of winner and loser. It'd probably be Luka, because Luka, I think, is just carrying the Mavs right now. But because the winner of the MVP is on the winner of the winning team, I mean, right now it's I would say Jaylen Brown, just because offensively and defensively he's been dominant. I mean, he's been he's shooting 15 and 27 from the field this series. So he's been efficient. He's not shooting a lot. He's just shooting efficiently at a high clip. Jason Tatum, I think, like, Jason Tatum's one of those weird players. He's such a weird player to evaluate because he has all the talent in the world, but there's just times where he's I don't know, offensively there's times he loses handle of the ball. I mean, he had 8 turnovers last night, and I think he's 6-22 from the field. It's just he's just a frustrating player to watch at times because he's so talented and he's really good, but there's just times where he kind of disappears from the scoreboard. But I think for right now, my MVP would probably be Jaylen Brown, and I'm kicking myself for not betting him when he was plus 700 for the series, because I did have him in a bet slip. But to bounce off some of your points that you made, the Mavericks, I saw a stat today that Luka is 8 of 21 from 3 this series, and the rest of the team is 2 of 21 from 3.
8-21 is pretty solid. That's like
you over. My other point was that the rest of the team is 2 of 21 from 3. I'm not knocking Luka for 8 of 21, but 2 of 21, especially when you have Kyrie as your counterpart, I mean, that's just troublesome signs. And I think Kyrie probably will play better in Dallas. I think he's been kind of shrugging off.
Wait, you say 2 of 21?
I believe I saw a stat today. It was like 2 of 21 or something like
that. That'd be from last night then, right? 2 of 21's not right.
No, because he wasn't 8 of 20. He wasn't 8 of 21 last night.
Yeah, but they hit 2 threes last night. And
that's why I'm saying series. Hold on.
Yeah, and then they hit 3 threes game 1.
Maybe hold on. Maybe it was like 5 points. It was something pretty bad though. Hold on. But
3 of 15 game 1. 2 of 18 game 2. So 5 of 18.
33.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's what the stat was. Yeah. So the 5-33. So apologies for not getting those numbers right, but the point is, the rest of the team is shooting abysmal from 3, and Luka's basically having to carry the entire team. I don't know. I think Kyrie will play better in Dallas. I know he's kind of shrugged off the Boston fans saying they haven't really bothered him, but it's pretty clear that they're in his head. I mean, he's lost handle of the ball. He's slipped at times. been pretty much locked up this series. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to overstate the Boston fans and like their booing of him, but it clearly has affected Kyrie in the first 2 games. And overall, like against Boston, since he's been traded, he's 0-12 against them. So
No, that's nuts. That's nuts. It's probably one of the crazier stats. And it's weird because Kyrie, I think everyone can agree Kyrie in Boston, he was kind of on one. But it seems like he mostly realized, some things went wrong. It's not all on him, but he had a portion of it. But man, they hate him. They hate him. But, I mean, yeah, I don't know if I'd say it affected him. I just think the team itself is more affecting him. Even though at times he does look a little hero ballish, which I wonder if he's trying to shut the crowd up. That would be my only question. I don't think like losing dribble, just him chucking up shots every once in a while, just like 18 seconds left in the shot clock, he just takes like a 26-footer. So maybe that. But I don't think that exactly. Maybe it has an impact, but I think he'd be struggling either way. Being home could be very helpful, though. Not just for him, but for the role players. Because, being home in the finals for role players is definitely always a huge thing.
it is a huge thing. But the thing is, unlike their previous series, the Celtics aren't doubling Luke and Kyrie. Like those guys are not getting as open as much because there's no help defense on the 2 primary scorers for Dallas. So I still think it's gonna be much the same. I do think Dallas will definitely play better, and they were in the game last night. I mean, like I said earlier, the first half it kind of felt like Dallas probably should have been up at halftime. I mean, Luka missed a handful of free throws. They still missed some open threes.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like Dallas, based on the way that the Celtics were playing the first half, probably should have been up by 6-7 points at halftime. But it was the absolute opposite. So Dallas, I mean, they have to win Game 3 to make this a series. I don't know who I have winning Game 3 yet. We'll talk about Game 3 here in a little bit. But those role players, basically what the Celtics are doing they're saying Luka can score all he wants, and we're just not going to let anybody else get going. So if he wants to score 30-plus points a game, go right ahead. We're just not going to let anybody else score and get into a rhythm. And secondly, they're also forcing Luka to defend on the other end. Like Luka, he's been defending pretty well these playoffs, but teams haven't made him work on the defensive side of the ball as much as the Celtics have in this series through the first 2 games.
Well, when your 2 centers can each hit threes and Horford and Porzingis, that helps a lot. Luka has moments. He had a couple plays against Tatum and Brown in the fourth quarter. It seems like when he wins, it's like, oh, dang, that was nice. But when he loses on defense, it's like he kind of realizes mid-play, like, oh, they have me. And he just kind of lets them go. I mean, also he's injured, like 4 different spots, but you don't want to – he's playing, so you still want the defensive effort. But when he loses, he really just kind of like he loses bad. But he wins. He can guard. But I think at this point, with his injuries and his offensive workload, he can't play a full 43, whatever, how many minutes playing of good defense at this time. And that's another thing that always hurts. But he's had moments. He's had good moments against Paul George, against Brown, against Tatum. I mean, he didn't guard Edwards a lot, I don't feel like. I mean, he had like a big block on Shea. And was that game 4? Wait, did they lose game? What? I think the third game they won.
Yeah.
I think it was 4. But he had a huge block, and that like kind of ended it. So he can do it, but it's probably just he gets no breaks. His biggest break is Sam Hauser or Al Horford. And Sam Hauser, you can't exactly let go because he can run around a little, get open for 3, and he can catch. He's a catch and shoot threat. So no easy assignments for Dallas anywhere with the team this good. And well, I thought about this right after when you started talking, but about how the Washington role player or Washington, I was saying PJ Washington, the Dallas role players struggle on the road, and then going home would be better. And we know the Celtics have been good on the road, but I think a part of that is like your main 5 guys. I don't consider any of them role players. Those are star potential players. So those
Horford may be.
Well, no, they're main 5. I'm saying they're main
Okay.
five.
I know Horford's
Oh,
technically
Horford's a
starting.
role player, but
Porzingis
he's
is
38, so he fits in too because he's 38 years old.
Mhm.
He's a vet. He's been in. I think they said. Did they say last night he's been in the most playoff games without having an NBA title?
I saw a stat in the previous series where I think he broke that record in the last series.
Yeah,
and now
I
it's just
forgot who he
extended.
passed. It's like Karl Malone, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Karl Malone. But I mean, he's a vet. White, never afraid. Holiday's a title. Brown and Tatum, even if Brown and Tatum struggle, I mean, they've been there enough. And then Porzingis, I guess Porzingis is the least tested out of those six because I think
he's also never played outside of the first round.
Yeah, Derek Lively's
matchup,
played more playoff games than Porzingis, but I liked what I've seen from him. So if there's any of those six who maybe like, oh, they're on the road, they're gonna just play bad because they're on the road to Porzingis, and whatever his injury ends up being, but I feel confident in him, and I'm really thinking this may be a sweep.
I said before the series started, I said Celtics in 6, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's in 5.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think it's going to be in 5. Like, I think Celtics get a game on the road. And to be quite honest, the Celtics haven't lost a game on the road in these playoffs yet. They're undefeated on the road in these playoffs. And I know that's against Eastern Conference teams but like, there's so many worrisome signs if you're a Mavericks fan or if you're a player. One, game 2 is usually when Celtics either kind of takes or like fall off or their opponent just blows them away and wins. Secondly, Tatum's not even playing that well, and you still have all these options of
if Tatum gets going.
Yeah. And it's just like, and then to add the fact that they're undefeated on the road, like the Celtics play better on the road. And the thing is, like when we watch the Pacers series, the Pacers gave the Celtics trouble because of their up and down pace. Like they played with a lot of speed, and Luka wants to slow the game down, which kind of plays right in the Celtics' hands of saying a half-court defense and letting them get into their right matchup. So I think for Mavericks, I think, like you said, I think this could be a sweep. I just don't see them losing 2 games at home, especially if Patrick Mahomes is at the game. I want to see a stat of when Patrick Mahomes is at the game, Dallas Mavericks games, what their record is. Because every time I watch a game when he's there, I'm pretty sure they've won. And I may be wrong on that, but he has. He'll go to. I think he'll go to at least 1, maybe 2, both games.
I mean, I'm trying to think of OTA schedules, but I mean, they're not in St. Joseph yet, are they?
No. Training's like in July.
Yeah, they're just OTA. So I mean, he can do OTAs and finish at 1 and be like, hey, just private jet it to Dallas, go right back, do it again for game 4. He needs to be at both games if they want a shot. I just thought of this too. I think, obviously, with the benefit of hindsight, the Cavs came back against the Warriors in 2016 down 3-1. I think, and it happened. But looking at it, and I can't lock into my mind 2016, and I was only 14 years old then, so I consider myself a much smarter human being and sports knowledge than then. But I feel like this is a less likely turnaround.
Well, yeah, Draymond was also suspended for Game 5.
I mean, yeah, but
big turning point series.
I still think they win that game. Draymond plays or not. That's LeBron and Kyrie, and LeBron was on one. I still think they're going to win that game, but I understand that argument. But I think this is less likely for the Mavs to win than the Cavs were down 3-1. I mean, it's just the Celtics are just better. And I think no matter what you want to say, I think we already know the Celtics. Like, they always say, like, the better team wins the series. If the Mavs win the series, they're not the better team. They're just not. Something crazy happens. The Celtics are better.
I think at this point, Luka, he's like last night, like we said, he had 23 points at halftime, and I think he finished with 32. I mean, he's ran out of gas in the second half, and he also had more turnovers than field goals made in the second half. It's just, I think Celtics, they're making him defend. Like every defensive possession, they're making sure he switches on to the primary ball handler and defends. Like they wear him out on the defensive side of the ball, which we didn't really see Minnesota do that much. OKC, I don't think we did it that much. The Clippers probably did a little bit, but this is the first series where we're actually seeing Luka defend a lot on the primary ball handler, like almost every possession. So I think the Celtics kind of have identified that to slow Luka down, just make him work on both ends of the court. And the Celtics, I mean, like I said, they don't have to double him. So you're not seeing anybody else really get open. So I think the Mavericks need more off-ball movement, but I just don't think they're going to be able. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to still play through Luka, and he's going to be dominating the ball. So, and that's why I was kind of doubting the Mavs this whole playoffs. They proved me wrong, but I think at times they become too Luka dependent, and the ball movement becomes stagnant, especially when you don't have to double them. So, I don't know. I think the Mavericks. They could easily get swept. If they lose Game 3, they may just throw in the towel because it's an inexperienced team outside of Luka, Kyrie. I mean, you have Derek Lively, who's a rookie. I think this is PJ Washington's first playoffs. Gafford's inexperienced in playoffs. I think if they lose Game 3, they may just throw in the towel.
I oddly think I have more faith in them winning Game 4 than Game 3. I don't know. I've seen Luka's back against the wall, and he does some great stuff.
But he's been doing that. He's been doing that in the series. He's been doing great stuff. And
but he hasn't been. I mean, like the Timberwolves Game 5 type of stuff. I mean, if you have Luka down 3-0,
I mean, yesterday he had.
I mean, but he didn't finish it like he should have. He didn't because he got. I think Game 4, if they're down 3-0, I think Luka throws a kitchen sink at everything, and I think I picked them to win. But probably not Game 5.
Well, especially in your scenario, if he's throwing everything at the kitchen sink in Game 4, he may
it would
worn
be
out in Game 5.
What really sucks is the Olympics are this summer, and I think it's fun that France is going to be good. Greece could have Giannis, Jokic could play, and then Luke has always been great in international basketball, and he may not. I mean, his injuries may make him not play. And that may be the smartest choice for him if he wants to win a title next year, to not play in the Olympics. And that makes me sad. I think that sucks.
Let's do a little exercise. I actually wanted to do this. I was thinking about this today, what we were going to talk about. Let's rank, because it's been so well balanced, and it's so unique of this situation because MVP talk and all that, we really don't know who MVP is. So let's rank the top 7 to 8-ish players in the series so far.
Are we saying for MVP or just overall?
Just overall.
Okay.
And I've thought about this today. I think the best player in the series so far, and to be honest, this is going to be a predominantly Celtics list. And I'm interested to see where you have certain players. So Luka is clearly number 1 for me.
Yeah,
I think even though last night he struggled with turnovers and all that, I still think.
And he had 4 steals.
Yeah. He's averaging 3 steals per game this series. So I would say 1 is Luka.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 2 is Jaylen Brown. And these are very close.
I'm going to agree. 2 is Jaylen Brown, but it's barely.
I'm going to say 3. I'm going to say 3 is Drew Holiday right now. I really think Drew Holiday. I mean, he had 26 last night, 11 of 14. He's only missed 8 shots this series. He's 15 of 23. So I would have Drew.
I have that as well. I have Brown just ahead of Holiday.
4, I'm going to put Jason Tatum just because I think offensively, scoring-wise, he's been subpar, but rebounding, defending, switching on defense, getting others involved. I would say Jaylen. Now, that may be the first one we disagree on, and I'm not even confident in that one. That's probably the one I'm least confident in, but I'll put Jason Tatum at 4.
My 4, 5, 6 are all close, but my 4, I'm putting Porzingis. I mean, Game 1, he just kind of came out and just his stats aren't Porzingis' stats aren't going to be shooting out, but I mean, he's played not even 44 minutes between these 2 games. But Game 1, he just dominated, just shooting over people, really sent the message early. And then his defensive impact, I mean, they're not having lobs, which is part of not doubling, but it's also Porzingis is there. And he has 5 blocks. And, I mean, he's plus 12 last night. And Game 1, he's plus 13. Plus 12 last night's more impressive with how it was. I have Porzingis at 4.
See, that's the only knock I really have on Porzingis is just these other players have played way more minutes, and I know that they're trying to get him back into the swing of things. But just for me, those players' performance over a larger span of time is why I have him ranked below. Why I don't have him ranked
38. He's 12-38.
That's why I felt that was the one I'm least confident in ranking him that high.
Yeah.
But it's just I think he had 12 assists last night. and he almost had a triple-double last night. So Jason Tatum, I have 4. Derek White, I have 5. And you have Chris.
I was wondering.
Correct?
5, I have
do we
Tatum.
Just do top 4?
We do top 4. 5, I have Tatum. I have Tatum just ahead of White at 6. I feel like we knew those for the 6.
And I mean, with Derek White, I mean, defensively, he's blocked
oh my gosh,
a good amount of shots. They all get steals. And Derek White, I mean, he's 11-26 this series. He's only shooting 50%. Last night he's really good. I get the flip flop of those two, and Porzingis I have 6, and the only reason is just like I said, just lack of I don't know if these stats are sustainable for what he's doing, but I mean, if he just keeps playing like this, it doesn't really matter. But
I just
that's all I'm saying. It's just like if he played this like this over a course of 35 minutes, I probably have him ranked much higher than I do. And that's not a knock on him. It's just
I think his defensive impact of not allowing those lobs is. I think that's so huge. Not allowing the lobs just because of he's there, and he's done a good job protecting the rim. He's not just his presence, but like people have gone at him, he's blocked them. So that's why I have him ahead. But yeah, Porzingis, Tatum, White are all close. They're all playing well. Tatum's playing well in his unique way, but I still think he's playing good basketball. Definitely not great, but when you're on a team this good, the best player doesn't need to play great, and the other team's best player is averaging 30 on good shooting efficiency. I mean, it's wild. But 7 and 8. You go first.
Okay, so 8's pretty default to me. Like they're both Mavericks players. That's my 7 and 8 because I think Celtics. I mean, I think they're just kind of their starting top 5 players have dominated the majority portion of this. I have Kyrie at 7. And maybe I'm too generous, but I have him 7 just based on eliminating other players from this conversation. So I have Kyrie at 7, even though I think he's played pretty poorly in these finals. He has not showed up at all. But I'll have Kyrie at 7.
I don't have Kyrie in my top. I have PJ Washington at 7.
Okay.
And then I rounded out with Al Horford at 8.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I said, maybe I'm too generous on Kyrie.
I mean, he's shooting similar numbers to Tatum, but he's not playing the defense. He's not passing. He's not rebounding. He's not bringing in the attention like Tatum is, because Tatum, he's bringing still a lot of attention. So Kyrie's not even top 8 for me. I mean, would he be 9? Probably be 9, but he's not top 8. I mean,
but 9 is basically 9 is not even like a who else would you possibly rank from Kyrie? Gafford, 9's is basically default. But Gafford last night, I know he had like 14 or 16 points, but the first half I think he had 0 or 2 points. Like it was kind of empty calories.
Kyrie would be 9. It'd be an if. I mean, okay, Tim Hardaway has to play. I don't care. Tim Hardaway has to play basketball.
I feel like you've said this every series though.
You're down 2-0 now, and you can't. No one's producing offensively, and the only person who's capable of like having a huge outburst out of nowhere where they're doing it more. Jaden Hardy, but I mean he's so young and he's more like straight ISO. But you have to throw Tim out there. I don't care. I don't care. You have to.
I think as long as Celtics don't have to double Luka, you're not going to see any role players really get clean looks.
I don't care. Tim Hardaway's the only guy who can hit those tough contested looks. He may have not been able to do it, but I'd throw him out there. So you had Kyrie at 7. Who do you have at 8?
I have PJ Washington at 8.
Okay.
And to be honest, like I said, I may just be going off the player name too much. Like
I think he's rebounded and he's done okay driving to the rim. You need him to hit more threes as well. He's not shot the same since the OKC series. I mean,
I was trying to tell you this before the series. Like you were high on PJ Washington this series, and
he's still not been bad, but that's what I'm saying.
He hasn't been bad, but like
if he hits
he's going to get to lane
threes,
pretty much easier than previous series, and I just disagree with that point.
I mean, what was he from inside the 3-point? He shot 5 of 8 from inside the 3. Game 2, game 1, 5 of 8. So he's shooting 10 of 16 from non-threes, and those are all in the lane, I presume. So he's still doing good. That's why if he hits threes, if he gets hot from 3, he could still drive, and then he can drive even easier. I still think he's the key for Washington.
You
Still,
mean
or
Mavericks?
Dallas. Why does his last name have to be the same name as the team? I still think he's the key because 10 of 16 from inside
Well, yeah,
three is pretty
I
good.
think he's the only player outside of Luka and Kyrie that can really make an impact on the series.
And
To be
I
honest,
would throw Tim Hardaway in there. Like he can do it. He probably won't, but he can. I'd take the shot. You're not as good as Celtics. Take the shot. Don't throw Dante Exum out there.
And do you think Mavericks should consider just not playing Maxi Kleber that much?
He
I mean,
can,
he's been really ineffective.
I think his shoulder. He's pretty okay on defense, but his shoulder is there's definitely something wrong.
I mean,
So
last night we were watching. I think it was like third quarter, and he already picked up his fourth or fifth foul. I'm like, what?
yeah,
I
I
didn't realize
mean,
he had that many fouls. To be quite honest, with you.
he
Like we were watching
probably
the other one.
shouldn't have came in that
I mean,
Minnesota
that's another
series.
thing that I just thought about was like last night we were watching, and Tatum made a layup in the second quarter. And I'm like, I think those are his
I
first points of the game.
swore I had no idea why when he hit that. I remember I said it, and you're like, "No, that's his first." I swore he hit a shot before that, but that's wild.
Like the fact that I don't know, Mavericks I think just don't match up well with the Celtics at all. And I'm curious what the Celtics, after this year, I think next year will probably be their best shot to win again because I think they'll win this year, but
Yeah.
another one will be next year, and then I don't know what
They'll have to
probably
get
move
creative.
they'll have to move some players, and that's the thing. That's the thing that's also an interesting thing about the Celtics is once you get rid of Porzingis and possibly Derek White and Drew Holiday's getting up there in age, is Tatum going to be reliable enough to get to and win another finals? Like, because now he hasn't been playing well. It's because these role players have been playing really well. I want to say role players, but these other players have been playing well, and Jaylen Brown's been really good. Like, Jason Tatum's just missing that one thing in his game of just taking over a game.
Here's what I'll say: next year, I think they may be. Next year, they may be better because now they're going to have all played together for over a year, won a title, unless they get.
Well, Al Horford, I think, will be gone. I think if they win this, this finals,
another
Al
year.
Horford will. No, but I think he may retire if they win this.
I think he'd go for a second one. I think he has one more year on his contract for like $10 million. Might as well play it out and go for one last title. I would say he stays and tries to get a second title. But I think next year, I mean, here's the thing. They have all like their draft picks. And I know they're not going to get any stars, but I mean, maybe next year Jordan Walsh gets some playing time. And maybe they do well and draft I don't know. I think they have their pick. I don't even know who would be at 30. But maybe they draft someone pretty okay at 30. So I think the draft starting in 2025, 26, how Walsh does and how these next 2 years go picking. Because I'd assume they get rid of Porzingis, and I bet they keep Derek White. So you have a older Holiday. White would be in his early 30s. And if Brown and Tatum could get even better from where they are now, then I think you could still continue it. So I think they're going to be 2-time champs with 4 of their 5 starters. They'll also lose Horford probably. So I think it's going to be those draft picks. Can they hit some nice picks? Just solid role players.
I was thinking about this today. Solid role players is exactly what I was about to talk about. I know I don't want to overstate this because I do think this player, like this draft prospect, I'm not saying he's going to be a special player or anything like that, but could the Celtics possibly draft Bronny James late in the first round or second round?
No.
Just to be a 3-and-D guy off the bench.
He's not even a 3-and-D guy. He's not even a 3-and-D guy. He's 6'1", first off. And you have Peyton Pritchard. And he's not even that good from 3. No. I will not entertain that, brother. I will not. No. That's not who
I'm not saying
he's not even
a great player.
But he's not even a 3-point shooter. He's not even good at it. His percentages are terrible. I know no. I'm not taking him with my 30th pick. No. You can find some senior
because I don't think they're going to be able to trade. Like if they trade these first round picks for a player, that's.
What if you go get Terrence Shannon? What if you go get Terrence Shannon or Kevin McCullough?
That's not a player. I mean, those are actually interesting players.
I just draft a whole bunch of 4th-year guys.
But I don't know either. I don't think Terrence Shannon. Well, I know he has his legal issues, which we won't get into, but I don't know if he'll be there at 30. And maybe that's the reason he slides into that part of the draft. But
who knows with this draft? It's such a weird draft. And I guess I was listening, as I feel like I mentioned this every single episode. I was listening to Bill Simmons, Ryan Russillo. They're my favorite podcast to listen to when they record on Sundays. But Ryan Russillo was saying something, how he's heard that this has been the year the most for like execs and stuff, and they're all just like, these mocks, like, what are you even talking about? So it could be chaos. But I think I've seen Terrence Shannon and McCullough are second rounders. I think more Terrence Shannon would be like, oh, someone takes him at 20. But who knows, something like that. But if you get Terrence Shannon and McCullough, I'd say screw it. And like you have Peyton Pritchard, who I think is under contract for 2 more years after this, if I'm correct. And so, I mean, he's an experienced guy who plays pretty solid when he's in there. And that's a nice backup point guard to have to White and Holiday. But, I mean, you just any type of vet. Now I'm just going to look at prospect lists. I just want to look.
And I know we've already talked about Game 3 a little bit, but let's preview it a little bit more and maybe make a pick, talk about keys to the game. What will you be looking for in Game 3? Do you think the Mavericks make any lineup adjustments at all? Do you think they try to go smaller?
No, don't go smaller because that means Kleba, and Kleba can't shoot. If Kleba was healthy, I think that would be a huge thing. But he's not healthy. I mean, maybe if you want to try something super duper weird, you go Kyrie, Luka, Hardaway, Jones, and Washington.
I mean, that's another thing. Derek Jones. I mean, he was shooting well from 3.
Derek Jones would probably be more of the 5.
He's absolutely fallen off.
Yeah, he has. Like, he still plays good defense, and he could still drive to the lane, one of the most athletic players in the league. And he could be like your de facto 5 who, if you leave him in the corner wide open, you don't want him to hit like 2 at home. So maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kyrie, PJ Washington, and do they play Tim Hardaway? That's my stuff. That's nothing from the Celtics end. It's just the only thing is, does Tatum shoot well or not? That's all I got from Celtics. I think Kyrie and Washington, and then I'd play Tim Hardaway.
Yeah, I think for Celtics, Game 3, I think Game 3 is almost a must-win for Celtics. Because if you lose Game 3, you then get the Mavericks open, then it's 2-1. And the Celtics team have shown in the past that they can let leads slide, they let leads slide in games. So could they let the Mavs get Game 3 and possibly let that slip in their mind for Game 4? I think so. So I think Celtics need to play with a lot of urgency in Game 3. I don't think if they lose Game 3, I think it could absolutely flip the series. Because if Mavs win these next 2 games at home, I mean, the way Luka's playing, you don't really want to mess with that. You rather just put the nail in the coffin in Game 3 and kind of just set the tone there. So I think for me, Celtics, just keep playing defensively how you're playing. And to be honest, the reason why they're playing so good defensively on Kyrie and Luka is that they're not really falling, especially Kyrie. Once he gets inside the perimeter, he'll stop and kind of pump fake a shot. And most of the time, you've seen defenders jump, so then he'll slide under them and shoot a layup. The Celtics are not doing that. They're basically staying stationary and just saying, "We know you're not going to shoot it, so try to make a fadeaway over us." And that's basically what Kyrie's had to do: is either settle for a fadeaway or basically pass the ball back out. So
that's a great point.
I think Celtics defense, I think they've already set the tone there. I think offensively, though, they have to keep playing how they're playing. And Tatum has to step up. I think they can win this series without him playing well at all, but the Mavericks may not let them get away with that if he keeps playing bad. Like, if he keeps playing bad, they may take advantage of that. So I think Tatum, the key to Game 3, I think, is Tatum. Because I think everybody else, Brown will play physical, he'll drive. Tatum has to get going, I think, Game 3.
I think he just has to shoot okay. I think he just has to shoot okay.
Well, I'm not saying he has to drop 30 or anything, but I think just play efficiently.
I mean, yeah, he just can't shoot like he has. Just a little better, and I think it's all okay.
And like last night, he was a turnover. I think he had 8 turnovers last night.
No, he had 3.
Who am I getting? Was 8 Luka?
8 was Luka.
Okay, then what did Tatum have in Game 1 turnover wise?
He had a lot in Game 1. He had like 6 or 7.
Okay, so I had it mixed up, but yeah, he needs to. There's just times when he handles the ball and he's. Yeah, okay. There's just times
his decision making's not always the best, but sometimes it's good. But again, I mean, yeah, if Tatum plays a good game, like like an overall good game, like shooting well, passing well, defensive, rebounding, Luka has to drop 40. And that's why I
No,
know.
I think even if he drops 40, it doesn't necessarily mean they win.
No, but I'm saying he has to drop 40 to beat them if Tatum plays like can shoot well
Yeah.
and does everything else well. But that's why I'm just gonna go around. I'm picking Celtics game 3.
I think I am too, and I really
But
it's crazy.
I'm mapping it out where Celtics win game 3, Mavericks win game 4, Celtics win game 5. That's how I'm
Yeah,
mapping it out.
I mean, yeah, Mavericks. I don't know. Like I think if they lose game 3, I don't know if they win game 4. Like I think I'm more confident in them win game 3 than game. Like if they lose game 3, they're not winning game 4. That's just what I think. I don't.
I have a weird because I feel like whenever it's 3-0, we're always picking sweep. And then everyone's saying, and then Minnesota won game 4. But then everyone's like, oh, Minnesota can come back and win. And then they got massacred. So I see something similar happen here.
So we both have Celtics game 3. I don't know if I'll Celtics game 4.
Unless I see something ridiculous where it's like, just like, what is going on? Like, Celtics win by 27. And it's like, no role. Kyrie's terrible again. Then I'd probably switch it to Celtics. But for the moment, Celtics on Wednesday, Mavericks on Friday.
Yeah, it's really weird. They had 3 games in between, or 3 days in between each game. Now it's 2 games in between each game. Now it's just 1. So
yeah,
between game 3 and 4. So yeah, I think we'll see how game 3 plays out. I'm looking forward to it. I know NBA draft
before we end, I was looking at Kevin O'Connor's mock draft on the Ringer. So he has AJ Johnson, who played in the NBL league. I guess is a good ball handler, but like. Dude, someone who just scrolling down his mock draft, he doesn't have him to Celtics, but Baylor Shimer, you know who I'm talking about? Creighton?
Yeah, Creighton, yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Shireman. I'm going with that. I mean, 18.5 points, 38% from 3 is like probably the number 1 option. You put that guy, 9 rebounds, 6'8". You put that guy in the Celtics. Right where Sam Hauser is. I mean, he may be better than Sam Hauser. Who else did I see? Ryan Dunn. Have you seen stuff about Ryan Dunn?
To be honest, I have not looked at a lot of NBA draft stuff.
Basically, he has no offense, but he's like the best defender in the draft.
Well, I was going to say, I think Celtics, from a draft standpoint, I think if I'm them, I'd rather just go for a pure scorer than add just a pure defender. You already have enough defense. If I'm choosing on either side of the conversation of only defense or only offense, because you already have so many good defenders, I almost rather just have a scorer off the bench.
But I would
just another defender.
I would just say screw it and go defense and like pick 30 in a bad draft. You're not likely getting a good offensive player who's like, I'm
just saying if I'm picking between a player who is solely good on defense and another one who's solely good on offense.
But you're getting so little shots. I guess that's literally the argument. Ryan Dunn. I'd rather take Baylor. But what I guess it depends on if you're talking about like an ISO scorer. I'm saying defense.
But we've talked about a series. Tatum struggled from the field. Like if you can get another boost offensively and you already have all this great defense, it could take your team to
okay, but it depends on the offense. I don't want just an ISO guy because you're going to have.
I don't either.
Baylor Sharman, I'd probably take over Ryan Dunn because Baylor Sharman shoots 38% from 3, and I mean can rebound. So that's like I see that as a good fit. But Ryan Dunn, you throw that guy in the Celtics. I mean that guy's the best defender in this draft. Let's see shoots. I mean, literally his on this mock draft from a Kevin O'Connor. Shades of Herb Jones, Andre Roberson. I mean, yeah. I mean, hopefully he doesn't shoot like Andre Roberson. But if he shoots somewhere, okay. But so I still think you can win a title next year. And if you draft all these next 2 years, I don't want to say the word dynasty because I think that's kind of...
No, I don't think Celtics are... They have too many flaws to be a dynasty, and I think there's been 6 different champions in the last 6 years. Like if they win this year, I just don't think Could they go back to back? Of course, but
I'm picking them for next year. I don't. Who would? Okay, I know this is stupid. And obviously, it's like there's a draft and free agency, but it's like I think the Nuggets are the team to beat them,
I think Nuggets. I think if the Knicks
but they have to
can
make
get,
it back.
I think the Knicks because all the thing of the Eastern Conference.
Are you talking about the? I mean,
Let's
the
say they get like a
Knicks.
Paul George type, because all they have to do to dethrone them, it doesn't necessarily mean that they then win the championship. It just has to be, can they beat them
If
in the
you
Eastern
beat the
Conference playoffs?
Celtics next year, I feel like you're probably winning the title.
Like Knicks, I think the Knicks possibly could. We'll see, but I think it depends on moves. But like,
If
let's say
I'm
they
the
get
Knicks,
Paul George.
I'd rather get Mikal Bridges than Paul George if I'm the Knicks. The Knicks specifically. You get that whole Villanova thing going. He's a better defender now. He's probably
He also
his
doesn't
role.
miss games.
Yeah, he doesn't miss games. I feel he's more of a spot up shooter than Paul George is, and I feel like in this offense, but he can also create.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know. I'd rather have.
that's another thing with Knicks though. You kind of want to take pressure off of Jalen Brunson,
Yeah,
so
but I
Paul
don't.
George would be somebody who could
I,
also handle the
I
ball
just
and
I
run the
just don't
offense.
think I just don't envision the Knicks with Paul George making the title. I don't trust Paul George had his chance to prove some playoff stuff and he had that game with James Harden, but then he faltered again.
I would probably rank Nuggets because they've been there. I think if Minnesota makes a few moves, possibly move Carlton Towns and get another scoring guard or somebody secondary scorer. I think you put Minnesota up there. I don't know. It's tough to evaluate right now because
I think
we
the
have all
Mavericks, if
drafted.
the Mavericks somehow turn like Hardaway and Kleba or something like that,
What are you
and
possibly gonna get for those
I
two?
don't know. I don't know. You can go get. Trying to think of someone who's like overpaid, but you can jump your salaries toward on like a 1 year, or if PJ Washington or Lively. Those are the two players on Dallas who I think next year. Lively's a rookie, and like in high school, I think he shot some. And like if he could take a step, or if Washington can now take a step after playing winning basketball, I think those two could take a step. Or you try to get another guy with your contracts. Maybe have to throw Jaden Hardy into a deal for a team to be like, oh, he's a nice young scorer. So can't count out the Mavericks for next year. You'll still have Luca and Kyrie and
How
a
soon
lot of.
how soon do the Spurs become or enter this conversation? Like I know they're a long
Um,
way away, but how soon?
I mean, okay. Here's the thing. Let's say the Spurs just went nuts this offseason. I mean, you have the 4th and 8th pick. You have salary cap. Let's say you somehow sign Paul George. Wouldn't happen.
I don't see that happening.
I think in 2 years, Wemby's that good. He's that good, and people probably want to play with Wemby.
That's the thing about
And
Dallas, though. Like, if they lose a series, I mean, Minnesota's right there. Denver's still there. The Spurs can be there. Like, it's gonna be tough for Mavericks to get back to the spot consistently. I think,
I
especially in
still
the
think
West.
they have the. I mean, yeah, I think the whole. You can say that about the whole West, and I think that's also why if I had to pick a team to win the title, I'm picking the Celtics. I mean, the East should be harder next year. You're assuming Giannis is healthy. You're assuming um, Embiid's healthy.
Yeah, 76ers may be in the conversation. I don't know though. I don't
Yeah, we'll
necessarily
see.
trust them during the postseason.
I mean, see what the Cavs do.
I mean, maybe
Cavs
the
are about.
Heat. I don't know if the Heat
I don't know.
them doing some.
Did you see the Jimmy Butler thing? Whereas like he was at the Sparks game, and then Cameron
Yeah.
Brink was wearing 20. But imagine, I mean, and I think Jimmy Butler kind of pissed off the Heat when you're saying how they would beat the Celtics. But Jimmy Butler's just out there. What if he's just out there? That guy could swing a lot of stuff. Do you know what I'd love? I'd love Jimmy Butler to the Spurs. You sign Chris Paul on a cheap deal,
Oh my,
and
Chris
then
Paul. We're still
no,
on Chris
okay,
Paul.
you
He's
sign him for like the
39.
minimum. Yeah, you sign him for like the minimum. And you, Chris Paul with Wemby, what Chris Paul would unlock with Wemby?
I don't
Oh
think
my
Chris Paul would start. I don't think he would.
Well, with the current Spurs, he would definitely start. They
I
suck.
don't think that's going to be if they get Chris Paul. It's not going to be their. That's not
No,
going to be their
no, but
top.
I literally said they get Jimmy Butler,
Okay,
and then
but for point guard wise, I'm not gonna. I don't want
Chris Paul.
if Chris Paul's my point guard option, that's how I'm
Okay,
figuring out my
but
point
Jimmy
guard
Butler can run
position.
point guard, and you can have someone else, and Wemby can just do whatever. Chris Paul would be a great fit with Wemby. He'd unlock some stuff with Wemby. He'd give him the actual passes that he deserves. He'd give him some lob passes. He'd probably teach him a lot. I think that'd be cool. Chris Paul and Butler to the Spurs. Let's make it happen. And then you have Jimmy Butler with Wemby. I think that'd be funny. I've said my piece.
All right. Well, after that malarkey by Luke with Chris Paul once again,
don't even.
That will do it for our episode this week. We may do another episode after Game 3. Kind of depends on timing, what we have going on. But until then, make sure to subscribe, follow our YouTube page, spread the word around about the YouTube page if you are a new listener or if you have been listening to it, and then follow us on Spotify as well. But until then, we'll see you guys.
Peace.